The thing is, like, yes, Jimmy doesn't shoot threes, which is just, another element that you'd be looking to get, but he does shoot and he can score and he's very good late in games. There's just a lot about Jimmy Butler that I think a guy that can take over the game, but also control the tempo and run the offense.
Well, something they've got a lot more shooters on the team now than they did last year, where like last year they'd have been bunched up.
Oh yeah.
Oh no, did my headphones just die already?
Last year was hard.
I have no audio right now.
All right, give it a second, Jordan. Let him get this back. Every damn day with this guy. Good?
I guess. I'm going to have to go buy new AirPods or something.
I'm on my third pair.
Yeah.
Let's do it. What's going on, everybody? Welcome to the Awesemo.com NBA Strategy Show presented by No House Advantage. It's Wednesday, 10-game slate. I'm Dave Loughran at Laffy_D on Twitter. Give your man a follow at Laffy_D, LOUGHY_D, joined by Joshua Engleman on the Twitters at Josh Engleman himself. That's L-E, not E-L, not to get confused. What's going on, fella?
For a second there, I thought you actually got it wrong. And I was doing it in my own head. And I was like, dude, yeah, that's right.
I can promise you, if I did get it wrong, it would have been 100% intentional.
That's probably true too.
Leading people astray, just doing my part.
I was hoping for a little bit better yesterday, but it is what it is. 6-game slate. It didn't go totally the way that I thought it would. Didn't expect Dallas to smack Golden State. Didn't expect Portland to smack Indiana. Like both of those games got really, really ugly. Brogdon started strong, and then it didn't matter. Like they was
Nurkic got off to a monster start. Oh,
yeah. Like I didn't pin Anthony Simons as the guy you needed from Portland yesterday. My apologies.
Or Juancho Hernan-Gomez from Minnesota.
No, it ended up being a little weird there. But, I mean, Luka smashed in the amount of time that he was actually on the court. 2.04 FanDuel points per minute at 57.2 FanDuel points in 28 minutes.
Amazing. Yeah. Look, I'm not one to use this phrase often, but it is what it is. I liked the slate. Yeah. I felt good going into it. I told you I felt good about Brogdon. I felt great about Nurkic. And dude, early on, I'm thinking, oh, all right, we are in business here. This looks phenomenal, right? Yeah. And I also told you I got the Warriors at laying 1 point. It closed at -5. So I get 4 points there. After the first quarter, they're plus 13.5. Plus 13.5 after one quarter. They made their first 4 shots and then missed 18 straight. They missed 18 straight shots in that game. I stopped watching after the first quarter. There was no coming back from that. It was horrific. And blowouts happen, but last night was just out of control. And I kind of put my hands up. I conceded that one because what am I supposed to do when, it's halftime and a team's down by 40, or you come out into the second half and the Pacers just get throttled and Nurkic only plays like 11 minutes in the first half, even though he was averaging 2.5 fantasy points per minute. There's just nothing you can do about it. The process, and I'll tell you when I think I'm wrong, whenever I will, because I'm wrong plenty. But when it comes to blowouts and guys lose like 30% of their playing, 20% of their playing time, 25%, what are you supposed to do?
Nothing. I mean, like Dame didn't play the fourth quarter, Nurkic saw a minute and a half, 2 minutes. Every other starter for the Blazers didn't see any time in the fourth quarter. Keldon Blevins, and I didn't even know TJ Leaf was on the damn Blazers, but he got in yesterday. So kudos to him. We didn't see, Brogdon didn't see the floor in the fourth. Karis LeVert didn't see the floor in the fourth. The only guy that was able to actually play out there was O'Shea Brissett because they don't have any other choice. just not ideal in that one. I thought that game would be way more competitive. I obviously thought the Dallas game would be more competitive. I mean, we got all the ridiculous guys. Tyler Bay and Nate Hinton got in for the Mavs. Like the entire Warriors starting lineup didn't play the fourth. It was when you have two games like that on a 6-game slate, it really changes the scope of everything.
It really does. And Nurkic didn't even get to 20 minutes on the day. So
no,
that tells you all you need to know.
Didn't need to, you know, he was plus 12 in 19 minutes.
Yeah. He had a solid double. I believe he had 5 or 6 assists to accompany that as well.
Yeah. 4 assists, a steal, a block.
All right. Well, anyway,
what are you going to do?
We move on. We got 10 games today. You got a decent amount on the injury front. We'll hit on all of that. And then you got the deeper dive. You got the live before lock. You got the tip-off show. All of that great stuff coming up throughout the day. Josh already did his process show, 6:30 a.m. Monday through Friday. For those of you that are early risers, that is not me. Contended videos and a whole lot more. Everything you need here, right here on the channel. And with that said, we're happy to have you guys with us. Hit that thumbs up. First thing you do when you walk in here, when you jump into the room, hit that thumbs up. Or maybe you're coming in late. Maybe it's later in the day. The show is already streamed. It's the same process. It helps us just as much. And subscribe to that channel. It is, I mean, that's the biggest thing, Josh. And I am proud to say, mentioned it on the deeper dive, we are now the largest DFS YouTube channel on the platform, which is amazing because other places, other sites had long head start, like half decade head start on us. Feels pretty good.
Yeah, it's interesting to see that since I've been hired at Awesemo, we've gained 54,100 subscribers, enough to fully pass everybody else. That's incredible.
It is. I would also argue that, you know, when I came over with Adam and Ben a couple of years ago, that is when the growth really started to rocket upwards.
I'm just saying, we went from 0 to 54,100 in the top from the time that it was created. Now, I will add, as a caveat, I am also the person that created the channel. So there is that. But what are you going to do? It's actually that's a true statement. No, dude, it like jokes aside now, it's super sick to see what awesome. We did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It makes me pretty happy. So we thank
I didn't think
that
was possible that quickly. If I'm being perfectly honest,
no.
I didn't think we would even be in the ballpark
of being able to do that.
Yeah.
Yeah. We thank you guys.
It would have been like basically like a month ago in 2018. The first video that was done for Awesemo.com didn't show up on an Awesemo.com YouTube channel. It was on my personal channel.
Wow. That's amazing.
Yeah.
Well, thanks.
It took like 2 or 3 days before we got everything like created and like attached to the site.
Without you guys, it wasn't happening. And you keep coming back every day for one reason or another. I couldn't tell you why, but we love doing this and having everyone with us. Yeah, I came over from, who asked me that? From FanVice. And thank you, Ryan. Appreciate that. Appreciate all you guys, all the nice words. Yeah, I came over from FanVice, Cork, and I was at Fantasy Insiders before that. So been doing this for a while now. Like I look back and I started playing, and you've been playing DFS for a while. I started playing DFS in like 2013 and then jumped into some gigs getting paid peanuts because I liked it. You know, I was still working a full-time job and doing that in like early 2014 or so. And you look back now, you know, I was laying in bed yesterday and I'm like, am I going to be doing this when I'm 50? I
hope.
I know, but that's
a dream, right? Like it'll be great.
It's going to be funny when you fast forward a decade and a half, right? And Awesemo's going strong, but we're graying. You know what I mean? We're
still wearing backwards hats though.
Yeah. Extraordinarily unfit and just kind of, hey, Josh, how about that Jimmy Butler Jr.?
Yeah, I was just going to say Bronny James, 9K on Fan Kings.
Yeah, exactly. It'll be good stuff, but hopefully we can stick around. All right, man. Well, let's do this. Quick fantasy cruncher. I personally would like to avoid this entirely lineup study because yesterday sucked, but at the same point, let's get it done. Let's do it. See what happened. We had $100,000 Awesemo subscriber win on FanDuel yesterday. We'll get to that in the Hall of Fame segment. Love to see it. But first, DraftKings lineup study. What do we got?
Yeah. Winner was 150 maxer in the mix, took it down for a lot of money, ended up winning 129,000 because he also took third So grabbing the first third combo, you don't see all that frequently. Lineup for him was Kyle Lowry at 4.5% owned, Marcus Smart, Jayshawn Tate at 6% owned, Christian Wood, O'Shea Brissett, Peyton Pritchard, Evan Fournier, and Jaylen Brown. Fournier, by the way, 35 minutes yesterday.
Yeah, of course.
Didn't see that coming. And he played sort of terribly. 4 of 14
shot awfully
from the field, 2 of 9 from 3. But just in case you guys didn't see it, 5 steals and a block for Evan Fournier.
6 stocks for Evan Fournier. And that's the rough part, because I'm not saying you take all of them away, but even if you took it to where he had like 2 stocks, a standard Evan Fournier line, which that might even be giving him too much credit, Josh. Even if you got something like that, you're taking away 8 points there. And then you're talking about Evan Fournier getting 23, 24 fantasy points. But it is what it is. He had a good game and he got the minutes, and sometimes the minutes are all you need.
Peyton Pritchard played 33 minutes without starting, went crazy, scored 28 legitimate points. Just a really weird slate. Like, to me, there aren't any bad plays in that lineup. I like the way that it looks. $3,700 Peyton Pritchard with a shorthanded Celtics team. No problem getting there. Jayshawn Tate and Kyle Lowry were both low owned, but guys you expected to play, 35, 36 minutes, something in that neighborhood. Jayshawn Tate ended up playing 40 minutes yesterday. To me, that lineup looks really good. I'm a little surprised to see 4 Celtics.
Yeah.
I don't think that I would have been able to get to that construction. And I was obviously a little bit lower on Fournier just from a minutes perspective too. But 4 Celtics was enough to take you to the top of the heap.
Yeah, he played guys from 4 different teams. Yeah, 4 different teams. That's it. He had 2 from Houston, 1 from Toronto, O'Shea Brissett from the Pacers, and 4 from the Boston Celtics. If you faded Kevin Porter Jr. yesterday, good for you, because that was just brutal.
I would rather not talk about it. 42.3% owned yesterday. But let's be clear, not even the worst chalk play. Kevin Porter Jr. was 42% owned, went for 23. Edmund Sumner, 47.6% owned, went for 11 fantasy points in 20 minutes because the Pacers got absolutely worked. He had 5 fouls in 20 minutes.
It was left and right. Just everywhere I looked was a bloodbath, Yeah. And it started off so great. That Portland Indy game started off so good. I'm looking at it, it's like, okay, good. Brogdon has 24 after the first quarter. Yusuf Nurkic just played 6 minutes and has 20. We're in business. I mean, that's the thing of legends. You love to see that.
It was 35-34 at the end of the first quarter. I was like, all righty. Dame played his full run. Like, he didn't have a great first quarter, but he was set up to be like, if that game stayed close, Dame was set up to play 36 minutes and score like, mid 40s in fantasy points.
Yeah, he had like 9-2-1 after 1.
Yeah, he wasn't projecting to be, to go for 60, but he was hitting his median. And like, that's all you can ask for if you're going into the second half where, Dame, I would imagine, is slightly better in the second half of games than he is in the first half.
Dame leads the league in fourth quarter scoring. So yeah, that would be.
So I felt okay about it. What I didn't feel good about is Norm Powell. Holy hell. 0 for 6 from the field, 1 rebound, 1 assist in 20 minutes. He was a play more. And a lot of that was just like, oh, Norm Powell's ownership is low and I really like the Blazers. So this is a place where you can zig when you want to zag. Nah, I zagged right off a cliff with Norm Powell.
And he came with you.
Yeah. Oh my. Yeah. It was me and him, like Bonnie and Clyde. Yeah. No, it's not Bonnie. It's a Bonnie. No. Who's the 2 chicks? The Brad Pitt's first movie, Thelma and Louise.
Oh, yes. What was
close to Bonnie and Clyde, Thelma and Louise, same thing.
What was the other? I always forget. What was True Romance? Is that the one where Brad Pitt was the pothead? Remember, it was like one of his first movies. He's coming and sitting on the couch. Maybe it wasn't True Romance. I thought it was. Chat will tell me very quickly, and that's why.
He's in it. He's Floyd in that movie.
Yeah. Hey, check this out. We're going to get into it right now. We got 10 games to break down, but Anthony Davis, the Awesemo Anthony Davis says with a nice hefty super chat again, and your impact is even deeper. You've changed the lives of people who've learned from you. I can attest to that. I'm one. I almost quit until I came across this team. Much appreciated. Well, appreciate you too, man. That is awesome. And
happy to have you, man.
Thanks for the support. Ready to do this?
Let's do it.
All right. Orlando and Cleveland. Let's get it started with this one. 208.5 total. Lovely stuff here. Terrence Ross is doubtful. James Ennis questionable for the Orlando side of the ball. Going up against a Cleveland team that has no Larry Nance for the rest of the year. Colin Sexton is going to remain out. Isaiah Hartenstein, Dellavedova. Even want to throw Stevens in there, Josh? We can throw Lamar Stevens in as well. I mean, they're just both teams dealing with a ton of injuries. Neither of them looking to win. Just ask Kevin Love. What are you doing with Orlando today? I know you a lot of times will be like, look, it's a bad team. It's an ugly team with a low total, but there are opportunities because minutes should be here and we might see a condensed rotation. Is that the case on a 10-gamer though?
Unfortunately, this Orlando and Cleveland matchup is uncomfortably important for today because it's close and because both teams are bad. There is some value to be found here. For example, Gary Harris is $100 above the minimum on FanDuel. We have him projected for 21% ownership. I unfortunately agree with that. Cole Anthony and Chuma Okeke are both in the teens in ownership across both sites. All three of these guys are in double digits in ownership on both sites, and I fully agree with it. Gary Harris, Cole Anthony, Dwayne Bacon, and Chuma Okeke are four guys that I have my eye on in this game. Dwayne Bacon, 4K on FanDuel, 4,600 on DraftKings makes it a little easier to get away from him. He's absolutely terrible, but unfortunately, something has to happen in an Orlando-Cleveland matchup, and they are both pretty low on bodies. Like Robert Franks was on Orlando. He is no longer on Orlando, so I assume Donta Hall picks up those minutes. Wendell Carter did play bigger minutes his last time out. I don't see him as particularly good today, but Anthony, Okeke, Harris, and Bacon, they're like 10 to 15 to 20% type guys, depending on which one you're actually looking at. I hate it, but you have to be rostering something from Orlando today, I think.
Our projections have Harris at 14% on DraftKings right now. I don't want to do it. I get it. I get the numbers are saying one thing. I totally understand that, but he's a 0.61 DraftKings point per minute player this year. Mm-hmm. He is dreadful when he's on the floor. I understand most of those minutes have come with guys like Jokic and Jamal Murray and Barton and Michael Porter. I understand that, but man, it is tough to pull the trigger on a guy like Gary Harris.
Yeah, rostering Gary Harris certainly makes me want to pull the trigger. That's for sure. It's not ideal, man. It really isn't. With that said, like I'm not trying to give my personal opinions here. This is just how the data looks. And because this game in theory should be competitive, I'm going to have to rely on these guys that are playing 30 minutes a game for Orlando right now. They don't have enough bodies to not want to do that.
For Cleveland, Cedi Osman went from minimum salary, played 37 minutes to 3,800 DraftKings pricing, played 38 minutes. Yeah. And now you've got him at $5,000. So the price has come up considerably, but he is still pulling significant ownership right now. Yeah. We have him projected as the second highest owned player on DraftKings today, which is, I mean, that's pretty insane given the price hike, and a third highest projected owned on FanDuel at 5,500. Is there still enough meat left on the bone for Cedi, whose minutes, I mean, he's playing close to 40 minutes a game in regulation.
I can't advocate for 38% Cedi Osman today, not at the 5K price tag. Now he's 5,500 on FanDuel, projected for 24% ownership. I don't agree with that at all. I got him in for 34 minutes. I guess I could give him 36. He'll be a little bit more appealing, but I am certainly under on Cedi Osman. I would be more likely to go to a couple of the other guys on this team. So Jared Allen is still just 6,500 on FanDuel. I'm going back to that well. Dean Wade is the flat minimum on FanDuel, 3,500 on DraftKings. He saw 32 minutes this last time out. I think that is, well, appealing wouldn't be the right word, but I think that he is a play that is properly owned. Who knows what you're going to get out of Kevin Love, but he is 5,600 on FanDuel, so you at least have to pay attention to him. He's projected for 24% ownership. Wade, Love, and Cedi all at 24% ownership on FanDuel. Okay. Garland is 7,700 on FanDuel. I think that he's like a 10 to 15%er. There's a lot of guys to like in both Cleveland and Orlando, but right now, Allen, Wade, Love, Garland, Okoro, I guess. I mean, we're talking about guys that should be in like 10 to 15% of your lineups. I would have never expected what I'm saying to be coming out of my mouth right now, but it is the case.
Do you think Kevin Love gets his minutes pulled back today after what he did?
No, not at all.
No?
If Kevin Love's warming up for a game, he's playing his normal run. He's either not playing at all or he's just himself. Like they're not playing Kevin Love 16 minutes despite him. He's not sitting out like the first quarter because he was late for math class.
I would think he would be happy for that to happen in all seriousness. If they,
if I'm Kevin Love, I would love to go to hell home.
Yeah, exactly. Paid leave. Atlanta and Philadelphia, no Trae Young again. Kevin Huerter's doubtful. DeAndre Hunter is out. Even Brandon Goodwin, who's been seeing some backup run at the point, is questionable. So there are going to be a lot of moving parts here, Josh, and I can't say for certain what it's going to look like once this game locks or tips off at 7 p.m. Sorry. But as of now, we do know that Young is out, and Kevin Huerter, who's been seeing good minutes and was actually, handling respectable usage with Young out, is going to likely join him on the sidelines today. What does that do for guys like Collins and Capella against a Joel Embiid-led front court?
This is a pretty tricky spot for Atlanta. A lot of this is going to come down to whether or not Brandon Goodwin plays. Injured his ankle the last time out. I have him in for right now, which makes him look like a okay play. 4,600 on FanDuel, 4,300 on DraftKings. But if he ends up out, then we're bumping up more minutes to potentially Lou Will. I don't know how much Chris Dunn can actually play right now. That probably doesn't matter all that much on FanDuel, where for some strange reason they priced Chris Dunn at 5,500. They must think that he's still starting for the Bulls 2 years ago.
Yeah, I didn't get that.
Well, he's 3,100 on DraftKings. So if Brandon Goodwin ends up out, I think that Chris Dunn could end up being a potential value play. But we'll have to see where we end up there. There's no ownership coming to this game. Lou Will is at 6.8% on DraftKings. Bogdanovic is at 6.2 on FanDuel. Those are the two highest ownership projections for this team. There's nothing coming in. And obviously that's not surprising. A matchup against Philly with no Trae Young, like this in theory shouldn't be competitive, but I like getting to a little bit of John Collins, not crazy, but I see him as a contrarian option in GPPs. And if Brandon Goodwin can play for 4,300 on DraftKings at 4% ownership, I would probably have like 15 to 20% of Goodwin in that case, because I think he's going to have to play a ton of minutes. No Huerter is a really interesting wrinkle for the rest of the guards.
Did you touch on Bogdanovic at all?
I mean, to me, he's just there at this point. Now that he's in this slightly higher than mid sevens price tag, he's like a fantasy point per minute guy. You project him for 36 and you just sort of move on, play him in a decent chunk of lineups, but it's not going to help him to have 90 minutes worth of starters not available.
Yeah, probably not. If Goodwin sits, though, I suppose we would be looking at Chris Dunn, assuming Goodwin also sits. Chris Dunn, who's only played one game all season, but would he be able to get enough minutes is the biggest question here.
I honestly have no idea how limited he would be. Luckily on FanDuel, it doesn't matter at all, but DraftKings
but 31 on DraftKings is a significant salary.
Look, if we're willing to be playing some of that other garbage that's in like the Orlando game and everything, I think taking a shot on Chris Dunn at 3,100 is worth it if Goodwin ends up out. But we kind of need to just see if there's any word out there on how much Chris Dunn could actually play.
Yeah, it probably doesn't all add up because Lou Williams, who was out last game, will be back for this one. If Godwin sits, do we get enough minutes from Lou Williams, or do we just continue to see McMillan say, all right, you know what? Lou is a veteran. We'll give him 24 to 26 minutes, kind of no matter what happens. And then we'll just give more minutes to Chris Dunn and Skylar Mays. Because I think that's what will happen, honestly.
Yeah, I gave Lou 24 minutes. I'm not so sure that he's going to get a ton of run one way or the other, no matter who gets put in. Most we've seen him play in the past month. He got 30 on April 2nd, 28 on April 11th. So if Goodwin's out, I'd probably bump Lou to like 28 minutes. He becomes fine. Actually, he becomes a lot more than fine at 4,500 on DraftKings. He's 5,400 on FanDuel. At that point, I don't really care. But if Goodwin ends up out, Lou will look pretty good on DraftKings. Yeah,
I think so too. I'd say this. Am I totally confident in his minutes? No, but Lou Williams is the type of guy. I know this will seem anecdotal to you, Josh, but Lou Williams is the type of guy that'll light up the Sixers. They get beat up by guys that can take over games. Go back and watch any game this season. It just happens way too frequently. And you look at them and you say, I thought they were a good defense. They are. But if Lou Williams is out there, it doesn't really matter who it's against. He can take over. Our buddy Ben Rasa said in chat the other day in our group chat, he said, Lou Williams is just a professional scorer. He just gets buckets when he needs them. And if they need them, Lou Williams could do it. But I would like to see Brandon Goodwin out first before I start to
it's incredibly difficult for me to call him Goodwin also, by the way. That's just Godwin.
It's tough, right?
It's really hard. Yeah, it is.
You have Chris Godwin. You have who was the baseball player? Brian Goodwin?
That's Goodwin.
Right? But I'm saying it's Brian Goodwin, so I'd be calling Brandon Goodwin, Brian Goodwin. It's just a mess. Corey Jefferson, first place in the 3 max. Appreciate you, boys. Thank you for the super chat, man, and congratulations. Love to see it. Doan's 89. Any love for Noel or Howard? Well, we can get to Noel later, but I suppose we could flip to the Philly side now, Josh, and you can hit on Philly. And is he talking about Dwight Howard on FanDuel?
I can't imagine you're talking about Howard anywhere for anything.
He is. Let me see where he's priced.
5,100. Yeah, that's what he's
talking about.
Yeah, no, you don't. Dwight Howard is fully unplayable.
Yeah, if I could give you your $2 back, I would.
Yeah, unless you know something about Joel Embiid's status tonight that I don't know about. There's not a lot here to like from Philly, if I'm being perfectly honest.
The 50 fantasy point Howard game, by the way.
Yeah, there's Simmons is up to 7,500 on FanDuel now, so I think that's pretty appropriate. Tobias Harris is at 18% ownership on FanDuel. That's the highest owned player, only guy in double digits on either site. I'll roster any one of the big 3 from Philly today, but it'll be 5 to 10%. To me, this is all relatively minimal. Philly just doesn't
trace amounts.
Yes, trace amounts, 5 to 10%.
I like that. I'm not generally one to steal phrases from people, but that's actually one that over the years or so I've picked up from you. I like that. It's a good one.
I'll work on getting you a couple more.
Yeah. Well, first you'll have to give me all the ones you took from me back. Charlotte and Boston. What do we do? What's that?
I haven't taken anything from you, fella.
Charlotte at Boston. No, but somebody did. Charlotte at Boston. Charlotte Hornets 7.5 point favorite. Dogs 214.5 total. Dude, I've been rocking the fella game since OG now. Status.
Did you skip a game or are the times wrong in my sheet?
No, I don't think I skipped it.
Okay.
Right, Jordan? We're good, right? Charlotte, Boston?
I'm looking at it on my own.
Yeah, we're good. We're good. Charlotte, Boston.
Oh, yeah. My sheet's wrong. I have Lakers Wizards starting at 7:00, not 7:30.
Okay. It's possible they moved it. I'm not sure. But Kemba Walker, Jason Tatum, Kemba Walker's out. Sorry. Tatum, Robert Williams, questionable. With Charlotte, just kind of par for the course here until LaMelo gets back, until Gordon Hayward gets back. Although it's reported yesterday that he's not even close. Gordon Hayward. Malik Monk remains out again today. So I think we have a good idea of what we're looking at. PJ Washington now playing 30-plus minutes in 3 straight games. There are some things, I guess, that we could talk about here, Josh. Miles Bridges' price point continues to climb, even though he's coming off a huge game yesterday. I mean, is it worth paying these 7K price points for Charlotte Hornets tonight?
I think at least a little bit. I mean, this is going to be 3 straight games now for Charlotte where they ran a legitimate 8-man rotation. So at this point, I don't think that we could assume that they're doing anything else. So I have only given minutes to 8 guys for Charlotte. And anytime you're running just 8 guys, you're going to have valuable potential plays. You just have to. It's too many minutes to go around unless salaries are just fully broken. So Devontae Graham is projected for north of 20% ownership on both sites. It's a little high for me, but I don't think that it's crazy. It's right to me. He is the best option coming from Charlotte. I think Rozier would be second, but again, his ownership is already where it should be. So I like him, but I don't want to go too crazy. PJ Washington for 6,800 on DraftKings to me looks like the best GPP play, just not picking up any ownership. 4K Cody Martin on DraftKings looks like a nice solid GPP play. Miles Bridges is probably priced a little bit higher than I would like him to be, but he could also go out there and play 40 minutes today. It's really hard to lock that down. They're just not playing that many bodies. So for right now,
Borrego went with 8 yesterday, which is
three straight games, dude.
Yeah.
3 straight games of 8. No more Cody Zeller, which is crazy. I don't understand the Biyombo over Zeller love. It doesn't make a ton of sense to me, but I also don't care. I'm not playing Bismack Biyombo on either site. Brad Wanamaker is the flat minimum on Charlotte, however, and he played 27 minutes their last time out, 24 the time before that. 18% ownership is probably not what I'm looking for in a Brad Wanamaker revenge narrative game, but he does become a paydown option if he's playing 24 minutes at the flat minimum.
All right. When you're running such a condensed rotation like Borrego is, you can at least feel relatively comfortable that the minutes will be there for these guys.
Yeah.
Now they just have to do something with those minutes, and on a per minute basis, some of them are okay. So would you say there's any priorities for Charlotte before we talk Boston?
I would say Devontae Graham on FanDuel is a priority. I would say Devontae Graham on DraftKings is a priority. I don't think that I would say that there are any other priorities.
Want to know what bet I got absolutely wrecked on last night?
Well,
it was a live bet.
I was mostly just trying to think of my own like gimmick joke for this. I don't have one. So yes, please tell me.
Okay. So 5 minutes to go, Boston, OKC. Boston's down by 2. And I look, and they're money line dogs. And I get them at plus money with 5 minutes left at home, down 2 points. Right? Okay. How do you not take that? How do you not take that bet against OKC?
I agree.
Right. So I, being the degenerate that I am, don't just go with a normal flat bet. I say, well, this is too good. We're going 4 units, baby. And 2 minutes later, no more than 2 minutes later, I look and they're down by 13. Nothing went right for me yesterday, Josh. And I was following this game very closely. There was some really good shooting by OKC that I didn't think was sustainable. I thought even without Tatum and Walker, who's not a defensive wizard anyway, that they'd be able to lock them down, right? They'd collapse down the stretch because it's the Thunder and they don't have any good players. No. And they end up winning outright in Boston as 11.5-point dogs.
Boston is in danger of being the 7 seed in the East and having to play in the play-in.
It's crazy, right? It really is. Now, granted, I hit the jackpot on triple diamonds shortly after that. And it put me not only back in business, but up greatly on the day. So, it's a give and take situation, right?
I got back into the slots on Saturday after winning the Uriah Hall bet once Chris Weidman broke his leg. Immediately I'm just sitting there with a buddy of mine and I was like, all right, I'm putting in 2 $50 spins in gold and gorillas. Lost them both. I was like, this is house money. I'm still up even if I lose. I mean, if I hit a bonus randomly on one of those 2 spins, I'm printing like thousands of dollars on $50. So it's got to be worth a shot.
Sure.
God, I wish none of this existed.
For anyone talking about Tatum being out and Kemba and Williams being out, I get that, but they're still a better team than the Oklahoma City Thunder. They were double-digit favorites, okay? And Vegas knows more than I do, right? All of that sharp money coming in, closing that line where it is. I feel comfortable knowing that getting plus money down by 2 points with half a quarter almost to go. I'll take that. I will. If that bet pops up again today, Josh, I will put the same amount of money on it because over the long run, that is going to be profitable.
Yeah, they were 11. Boston was 11-point favorites, missing Tatum, Kemba, Robert Williams, whoever the hell else. Yeah, it was brutal. Just especially because like if Oklahoma City's at the end, I can't even remember the name of Oklahoma City's coach right now. New dude,
Billy Montgomery.
It's not important. Anyway, you would just put in like the 5 worst dudes for that final 2 minutes. You don't want that W.
No, right.
Although for Oklahoma City, it doesn't really matter if they tank to the bottom. They own so many additional first-round picks that like they're kind of covering their bases either way.
That's a good point. Yeah. Mark Dignac. How do you pronounce that? I know every coach in the game. Oddly enough, I did not know
Mark Daigneault. Yeah.
Is it Daigneault?
It is.
You pronounce the LT? It's not silent?
You do.
Dignac?
No, it's Daigneault.
Okay. What are you doing with Boston?
So I have Jason Tatum in right now. Kemba Walker is out. Jason Tatum, Robert Williams, both questionable, but there's a lot of word that it was like just rest for yesterday and they're playing on the back-to-back. So I'm going directly back to Jaylen Brown, 8,100 on FanDuel, 8,500 on DK, projected for 20% ownership on FanDuel. I think that it should be actually higher than that. So team Jaylen Brown here, happy with his ownership on DraftKings. I am playing Robert Williams if we know that he is a starter for the Celtics tonight. I don't know if we're going to have that information or not. Tune in to Live Before Lock to find out. However, I am interested in Robert Williams if he is actually back. He's a 1.25 to 1.35 fantasy point per minute guy, seeing either Bismack Biyombo or PJ Washington at the 5. I think he can handle that. And then if Jason Tatum is in, like, I would like to play at least a little Jason Tatum, 9,200 on FanDuel, 9,600 on DK. Both Brown and Tatum see big time usage and assist rate bumps when Kemba Walker is off the floor. So from a raw points perspective, I like Jason Tatum. So Brown and Tatum would be my priorities here.
Peyton Pritchard played 33 minutes yesterday.
Yeah.
Is that something at all that we can expect to see tonight?
I doubt it. I mean, like if Tatum and Williams end up out again, possibly. I didn't expect him to play 33 minutes off the bench. That's much I can tell you. I also didn't expect Evan Fournier to play 35 minutes. So I didn't really have my thumb on the pulse of the Boston Celtics yesterday. If you give him 28 minutes at 4,100 or 4K, then Peyton Pritchard would look like a decent value. I don't really think that he gets that kind of run if everybody is back, save for Kemba.
That's odd. You'd feel a pulse with your thumb and not your pointer finger?
Well, I don't think the saying is I've got my pointer finger on the pulse of whatever. You're not supposed to use your thumb, right? Doesn't your thumb have like a different pulse than your wrist or something like that?
I believe so. There's something in there that's going on. Yeah. I'm not sure.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know how the human body works, man.
Anything else from Boston?
Nope.
The Lakers. Last night they were 2.5-point favorites. This one's down to 1. I saw it off the board on a few other books this morning too when I was looking around. Oddshopper.com. You know, I always thought it was oddshopper.awesemo.com, which it redirects you to, but you could actually just go to oddshopper.com and it just redirects you straight there.
I think that might be relatively new. I don't think it was oddshopper.com out of the gate.
I think you're right. I'm almost certain you're right, but it's pretty awesome because you could shop around every single book, and the way to win sustainably in sports betting, especially sports like professional basketball and football, where the lines are just so sharp, is to shop around and find those discrepancies with the retail books and all that good stuff. You can shop odds, props. We have the ROI tool, which is really cool. The win percentage tool over there. You can track your bets. You can set a watch list. You can do it all for free. And if you do decide to sign up on any books, go over there and do it first so you can get the massive deposit bonuses. Everything over there is totally free. It's oddshopper.com. Lakers in Washington. Anthony Davis played 31 minutes last game, was very disappointing, but it happens. They still pulled out that late game win over Orlando. And then everyone else is just probable for this one. So Frank Vogel listed everyone with questionable, but they're expected to play. Is there anything from the Lakers today against the Washington team that usually makes for a really good matchup?
I need you to explain to me why Anthony Davis is not getting a ton of ownership today. He's 9,500 on FanDuel, 9,200 on DraftKings. We have him projected at 4% and 2% respectively. I have Anthony Davis in the optimal lineup on FanDuel 24% of the time. What am I missing? He's not on a minutes limit anymore. He played 32 minutes the last time. I gave him 32, but if he's not on a minutes limit, I think that he could play more than that. I might not expect him to, but to me, projecting Anthony Davis for 32 minutes, we're talking about a guy that's a 1.4 fantasy point per minute guy, and he doesn't have LeBron James on the floor. So that number actually goes up, and he's in the best matchup you can get. This is the biggest pace up spot that exists for the Lakers. I think Anthony Davis might be like the best play on the slate, and no one's owning him. And I don't get it. I don't understand why.
Interesting. Okay. I'm not opposed to that. Actually, I would argue, playing devil's advocate really, because I think Anthony Davis is a fine play here, that the reason would be you've got a bunch of other good options on the slate. You have Westbrook, you have Jokic, you have Embiid against Atlanta. You have just a bunch of really good spots. Maybe it's just that he's getting lost in the shuffle and the minutes haven't yet been consistent, and he hasn't looked great since returning, although that's not really something I worry about. Since the start of last season, he is just shy of a 1.5 fantasy point per minute guy with LeBron James off the floor in about 1,200 minutes. I get what you're saying. Can we get 35 minutes from Davis today? I think it's possible. Does this game have a 1-point spread? Yep. Does Washington play the fastest pace in the league? Sure. They bottom 5 defense. They're getting a little bit better, but they're still not a defense that concerns you whatsoever. I don't see anything against what you're saying, Josh.
Yeah, it doesn't make sense to me. I played a ton of him 2 nights ago. Didn't totally go my way, but look, we know what Anthony Davis's price generally is when there's not another star on the floor with him. We've seen this before. It's usually like 11K.
Yeah.
So I don't totally get it. I don't know why we would be expecting him to be a lower rate player in this spot. And even at the very least, just from this Washington matchup, you expect his fantasy points per minute rate to be higher because there's more possessions in a 48-minute game. I don't understand why I'm seeing this differently. It's one of my biggest puzzling points for today. I have Anthony Davis projected very, very well. I'm going to be playing a ton of him, whether that's FanDuel or DraftKings. And if he is so low owned, I think that he could be the difference in winning a slate today.
You're right. He could. And there's no disputing that Anthony Davis, when healthy, getting the minutes, is the type of guy that can compile massive numbers on the stat sheet as a shot blocker. He can give you some steals. He can rack up the rebounds. He's averaging 1.7 blocks, 1.2 steals. So he's averaging 3 stocks per game. That is the sign of someone that can give you elite production. 8 rebounds, 3 assists, 21 points, and all of that, the bulk of that is with LeBron James on the floor. Could you get an easy 60-plus from Davis today? Yeah. Could he play 30 minutes? Sure. I don't actually know what Frank Vogel intends on doing with him, but you're right. If he comes in at where he's projected at right now, it's a no-brainer that you want to be above the field, and you don't even need to do a lot in order to do that.
No, I don't know what I would have to project him at for him to look like a guy that I would want 4% of or 2% of at 9,200. Like you just have to be assuming that he's playing 28 minutes at a rate that he's basically never played at since he was a rookie. It's blowing my mind. Like I cannot get there for anything else. Just play Anthony Davis today. It's the Wizards.
Now he just needs to not go to the locker room. And yeah, Tracy Britton said Drummond is taking rebounds away. He is. I don't love the fact that Drummond is the center. I'd much prefer it be Marc Gasol. I agree with that. I'd much prefer it be Montrezl Harrell, but you can't win them all, and you're not paying a premium for him. So there is that.
Yeah, I mean, let's be clear. He played the 4 for all of last regular season too. It's not like this is going to be a shocking new role. Whether it's Andre Drummond, Marc Gasol, Montrezl Harrell, Dwight Howard, JaVale McGee, all of those guys are still just playing the center and keeping AD slightly away from the floor. But there's no LeBron James on the floor either.
Right. Yeah, you're right. Exactly. And that's a lot bigger than anything else. Is Davis the only guy for the Lakers that you're targeting?
I think that Drummond for 6,900 or 7,400 on both sites seems like a 10%er. And then Dennis Schroeder, 7K on FanDuel, 6,900 on DraftKings. I actually think Schroeder is the best Laker on the DK side, just overall. It just so happens that he's actually getting ownership. But north of a fantasy point per minute as of late, that is where I have him here. He's playing monster minutes, which I didn't really realize at first. 38 in their last game, 36.5, and then 38 the previous game. A light affair on the 19th, but he played 39 minutes on the 17th. I have him in for 35 minutes. I think Schroeder looks pretty nice. And again, this matchup is fantastic. Why avoid it?
On the Washington side, the only player getting any ownership right now is Russell Westbrook. We know what to expect from him night in and night out. He has been essentially an automatic triple-double. Tougher spot against a slower paced Lakers team that still plays solid defense, got Anthony Davis back, but you're going to see at least a little bit of ownership from Russell Westbrook because in any matchup, he can go out and rip off 60 plus fantasy points in the blink of an eye.
Yeah, this is about as bad of a spot as you're going to find, especially now with Anthony Davis back. Having Andre Drummond and AD like anywhere near the rim is a real big problem for Russell Westbrook as someone who is incapable of making shots from anywhere on the floor. So I don't mind getting to a little bit of Russ. I don't really see him as a huge priority for today. I think that I would rather pay up elsewhere. I'm just not a fan of this matchup And at the price tag now that he is at, like, you need every bit of it. And I think that there are just other ways to go. I wouldn't condemn anybody for having Russell Westbrook today, but this is about as bad as it could possibly be.
All right. Washington outside of that just looks bleak. Yeah.
I have Russ at 9.8% in the optimal on FanDuel. That's the high. Nobody else is north of 6%, which is Beal. I can't really push for anything from Washington.
Let's talk about Chicago and New York then. The Chicago Bulls in New York, Madison Square Garden, 4-point dogs, 207.5 total. This one, not Orlando, Cleveland, is actually the lowest total on the entire slate, Josh.
Yeah, I feel like I'm missing something here. We've got a couple, we have Thad Young projected for 16 and 20% ownership.
Derrick Rose is up there.
I have Thad Young at 0% chance of being in the optimal. So I'm not entirely sure what I'm missing there. Must be a giant minutes jump that I'm not expecting to happen. He played 26 minutes the last time out. That is an outlier as far as I'm concerned. If you think that that's happening again, he's still just not an interesting play at 5K. So my recommendation is don't play a single person from the Bulls. If you want 5% of Kobe White on DraftKings, go for it. This is as bad as it gets. I'm not interested in Chicago.
No, and New York is just flattening teams right now. I think they're 9-1 over their last 10 games, and they're locking teams down defensively for sure. The New York Knicks, while they've played well, they haven't exactly been a shining beacon of hope from a fantasy standpoint. No. I just think on a 10-game slate, it's tough to really make a great argument for so many of these players. Can we go to Derrick Rose, though, who's played 30-plus minutes in 3 straight games, has 30-plus DraftKings points in 3 straight games, and is a high enough usage player, good enough playmaker to make things happen from time to time?
So he's 6,200 on FanDuel. I'm less interested there, but at 5,400 on DK, I think he is the best Nick, but he's already at 16% ownership. I think that ownership is correct. So you're probably looking at wanting to have about 15% Derrick Rose today. You can get to RJ Barrett. You can get to Julius Randle because they just play so many minutes. I don't mind falling into that, taking on the Chicago team. But to me, there aren't any priorities going on for the Knicks. They're just filler. It's a bad game.
Okay. Makes sense to me. Let's move on then. This is where we start making good time, Josh. San Antonio and Miami, 211 total. Spurs 5-point dogs here. Derrick White is out, though, for San Antonio. He departed last game early, and he'll be sidelined here. That was the same game DeJounte Murray and Westbrook battled with huge games in that overtime spot where we saw – Did you see my tweet by any chance about the 3
No, you're muted. No, I don't mean it for the show. I mean, I muted you on Twitter.
Oh, gotcha. Yeah. So I'm not sure why you would do that, but the San Antonio Spurs and Washington Wizards, Westbrook, Beal, DeJounte Murray, and DeRozan combined for 131 points. They had 0 3-pointers between the 4 of them.
Wait, including Beal?
Including Beal. They had 0 threes crazy. On 131 points. Not only that, they had the both teams combined for, I think it was 200. What was the final score of this game? It was,
I don't know,
146 to 143. So 289 points. There were 8 total threes made in the game. 8.
What year are we in?
I know, but almost 300 points and 8 threes. That's seriously unthinkable.
Oh, really? Especially against a San Antonio team with Jakob Poeltl, who's one of the best rim protectors too. So it's not like you're getting to the rim on someone that makes it really easy to get to the rim on. That's you're just living in the mid-range and those shots are falling.
Yeah, I was blown away by it. I really was. And sure, DeRozan and Westbrook aren't exactly elite 3-point shooters, but when you're scoring that many points, you would think you'd have at least a couple. Anyway, floor's yours. You doing anything with San Antonio with this Derrick White news?
No, he doesn't really make that big of a difference. It just sort of opens up minutes to make people a little bit more interesting. DeJounte Murray is at 11% ownership on FanDuel. Lonnie Walker at 11 on DraftKings. Those are the only guys in double digits. I don't have anybody that I think should be in double digits. I think Keldon Johnson is okay. DeJounte Murray is okay. DeMar DeRozan is okay. I don't see anybody here as a priority. Facing Miami in DFS is a terrible DFS spot. It's a super low total. This game is dreadful. This is like the Bulls Knicks of the previous stuff. I don't really want anything here.
All right. it's simple to do something like that because you have so many games to touch on today. What about Miami? Same thing.
You can play Jimmy Butler on FanDuel because you have to play two guys at every position. He showed up in the optimal for me 4.5% of the time. That is the high on either site. He's the only guy in double digits ownership on FanDuel, but to me, that's too high. I have no interest in rostering anybody from Miami. I would imagine they wouldn't show up in a crunch for me. There is nothing here.
All right. We got 4 games to go. Let's take a minute. We only got a couple on here. Let's take a minute to do the Awesemo Hall of Fame segment. And we got to show, we got to give props to our boy. I think it was Be Great, because he dropped 100. He won 100,000 yesterday, Josh. And that just gets me stoked. Be Great 36, $100,000. Monster win, 405.7 points on FanDuel. And there was a tweet from him. I don't know where it is, but it was essentially saying, hey, we did it again. And while I'm getting a little bit lucky, he said getting a little lucky lately, keeping it real and loving these projections, just taking Luka over the chalk. Thanks for the advice, Dave and Josh. So this is actually a really poignant tweet because it's kind of exactly, you know where I'm going with this, right?
Uh-huh.
It's exactly where we went the day before that didn't work out for myriad reasons. But the same approach the very next day, going with someone like Luka over chalkier high-priced players, won somebody 6 figures, $100,000 on FanDuel.
Yeah, imagine if Luka could have kept playing, what the score would have ended up looking like. 57 fantasy points from Luka at 4.4% ownership. I don't know what else to say there. I opened up the app. I'm in this contest as well. I saw that I was not, in fact, the winner. But when I hit the show all lineups button, it was very nice to see the Awesemo logo in first and in fourth. So MJazz24 as well. I do want to give you that shout out. Anytime you're getting into the top 5 of this contest, that's awesome. But yeah, when I saw the Be Great, I was like, oh, nice. We got a Hall of Fame segment for tomorrow. Get that 100K, baby.
We've got them every day at this point. I mean, I don't have to do anything. All you have to do is use the Awesemo avatar, okay? Go to awesemo.com/avatar, download the avatar, and use it on Draftkings, FanDuel, Yahoo, wherever you're playing, right? No House Advantage. Use that avatar. If you finish top 3 in a field of 5,000 or more, not only are we going to showcase you, we'll showcase you even if it's not, as long as it's a decent win so we can show it off. But if it is top 3 in a field of 5,000 or more, we will give you a free month of Awesemo Plus Platinum. Everything included on the site for the entire month because you're repping the Awesemo avatar and it's good stuff. Simple as that. If you want to check out everything we have to offer, go to awesemo.com/join. Ownership projections. You see these guys referencing them, and girls referencing them, the player projections, the NASCAR top. So you can leave that on there for a minute, Jordan. I'm going to go back to that. NASCAR, UFC, PGA, it doesn't matter what sport. You don't even have to know it. And I'm not making that up. You don't have to know it to be able to make good lineups. Basketball, baseball, football, we've got you covered. And that's the best part about this is all of these tools are built in a way that you can learn how to make good lineups without having to learn the game inside and out. That's a good way to put it, Josh, right?
100%. Yeah, look, and even just playing will help you then learn the sport at least a little bit just from, trying to pay attention to it even slightly. But the tools are there for a reason. We're seeing it over and over and over again in this Awesemo Hall of Fame segment. We're putting guys at the top. It's great to see. It's Be Great to see, I might add.
Oh, look what you did there. Jake Mears, 23, 10K. Just won 10,000 plus thanks to Awesemo. Won 100K 2 months ago, but this time I'm rocking that Awesemo avatar. Congratulations, man. Congratulations to everyone that's made it onto the Hall of Fame page. Very happy for all of you that we can show off.
I think Jake also got a seat to the fantasy event for FanDuel as well. Oh, yeah,
he did. You're right. Look at that. Okay, awesome. And then we had one more that I just missed. Masbury 15, $750 pick and roll. Gotta love it. And then the NASCAR one from the other day, 30K, 5K, 500. He just put in work throughout the day. That is the Awesemo Hall of Fame segment. Congratulations to all of the wins. We love seeing those avatars up top. No doubt about it.
Hell yeah.
All right, Josh, Portland and Memphis. We got 4 to go here. I'll run this one over to you. Portland, second of a back-to-back on the road. Last night's game we discussed just got out of control quickly. They're 1.5-point dogs, 238 total. Do we go back to a Dame today? Do we go back to a Yusuf Nurkic today? I'm leaning yes because this game should stay close and they got rested yesterday.
I'm going to all of these guys again. Damian Lillard is 8,100 now on FanDuel. The price is going down. I'll be playing more of him. Unfortunately, the ownership is coming with it. He's projected for 27% ownership on FanDuel right now. He was my number one contender. I will have more than that. I assume that I'm at like 60% Dame today. I want to be there when it goes crazy. Covington was a really nice value play yesterday. I think that stays the same today. 5K and 5,300 across both sites. Picking up literally no ownership. Nope, that's Norm Powell. We'll have that conversation in a sec. I'm in for CJ on both sites. I'm in for Nurkic on DraftKings, where he's 6,800. I actually think that he's the best Portland option. He's 8,300 on FanDuel. Probably going to have a little bit less of him there. And then Norm Powell, who was absolutely dreadful yesterday, but had been playing 36 minutes a game. He's 5,800 on FanDuel. He's 6,400 on DraftKings. Now, his usage rate is lower than what we were seeing in Toronto, but I've taken that into account. I've got him projected for 0.85 fantasy points per minute. I don't think that is an outrageous number. He's been at 0.79 over the last 30 days. I think that should climb a little bit. I think he's better than what that's showing. So I'm going to go to Norm Powell as a completely unowned play. He would be a large field GPP contrarian type option for me again today. But Damian Lillard on FanDuel in particular is the star. Or play him on DK at 9,300 where he's 6% owned.
And Nurkic at 12% on DraftKings I still think is pretty appealing as well.
I think he's under owned there as well.
Memphis, on the other hand, relatively decent matchup against a bad Portland defense, but there's just so many guys that get minutes on this rotation that it makes things a little bit more complicated for us, Josh.
I don't really care for this Memphis team at all. When they have everybody healthy, it's a really difficult thing to justify. I do like Ja Morant for 8,100 on FanDuel, but let's remember he was 7,100 not too long ago. Mm-hmm. He's not picking up any ownership though. He's at 4%. So I do like him in a contrarian sense on FanDuel. He's the same price as Damian Lillard. So as weird as this sounds, and I don't think that they are very comparable, but if Dame is 27% owned and Ja Morant is 4% owned, there's a little bit of, I should go to a little bit more Ja Morant to try to win a GPP going on in FanDuel. Now, it's not like, I think Dame is incredible, but I think Ja is getting dramatically underrepresented from a GPP perspective.
Okay.
Otherwise, I'm good. Like, I don't think that these guys look all that good on DraftKings. DeAnthony Melton's 3,800. He could play anywhere from 14 to 34 minutes because all bets are off for this Memphis team.
The Pelicans are 3.5 point dogs, 228.5 total. Steven Adams is questionable. Now, last game, the allergies just absolutely brutal around this way, man. I can't. I'm
allergic to this Pelicans team too.
Oh yeah. Well, I gotta say though, Willie Hernan-Gomez is actually, when active, a very good per minute player. Like whenever he gets starts, he's good. You'd be hard pressed to find many opportunities where he gets the minutes and doesn't at least give you decent enough production. He produced over a fantasy point per minute last game in 31 minutes. He is a +1 per minute guy by a wide margin this season. If he starts, I know it's Denver, but we have to look to him again if Steven Adams sits and Hernan-Gomez is in the starting lineup.
Yeah, absolutely. I have Steven Adams in for right now because he's Steven Adams, and like I just don't trust that dude. If he's questionable, he's going to play because he's like a different human being.
He looks like one of those old samurai warriors. Whenever I see him, he even has those tattoos. You know what I mean? He's
just a scary, scary individual. But if he's out,
fight him for. Would you fight him bare-fisted combat for $250,000?
Yes,
you would.
Yes.
Yeah. So you would.
I wouldn't even try to swing. I would just be like, "Yo, man."
Oh, you just tee him up.
Well, he's going to crush me one way or the other. So I'd rather just take one shot and go to sleep. I would prefer that he just strangles me unconscious if that works.
The rule is you wouldn't be able to run. So like you can't just run around the ring. You have to engage, you know? So like
just for the record, I assume that he'll also still catch me.
You think so?
I would have. I mean, he's
an
NBA
pretty big.
athlete.
He is a large man.
Yeah. I mean, if you're telling me that I get like we're fighting in the middle of a football field, then I think that I could stay away from it for at least a little bit. But if you're telling me that we're in the cage, then you could let me run. I'll probably get tired a lot faster than Steven Adams will.
How much would it take to get knocked out, one shot, from Francis Ngannou?
I mean, I've already agreed to 250,000 from Steven Adams.
Yes,
so
but with Ngannou, you probably don't live.
That good God.
And you're on blacktop.
I think I'm too scared to get in the cage. Like, I don't know if my body would let me get in there.
Right. You might actually cripple under. You might like fall apart on their feet because of the fear.
Yeah, I wouldn't feel bad about that or ashamed. Like, I don't want to fight like Khal Drogo or anything like that. That's basically what he is. I don't want any part of that. And I honestly think that he could like decapitate me with a punch.
I think so too. Yeah.
I thought he decapitated Alistair Overeem, and he just exploded his face.
Would you fight Henry Cejudo for 100,000?
See, that's the problem there. Like, obviously, I'll fight just about anybody for a
he
six-figure payday.
He can only stand up fight.
But yeah, he's going to beat the living piss out of me, man. It's going to be really embarrassing. But that's the one where everybody loses to Ngannou, like probably on the planet right now.
Right.
And Henry Cejudo is going to rough up 99% of all walking men anyway, but I'll feel worse because he weighs like 135 pounds.
Exactly. You're like, dude, stop.
Yeah. But
I'm kidding, by the way. Of course, I know
he's a 2-division champion,
punch.
Olympic gold medalist. Like, he's going to do whatever he wants.
Of course. I just thought it'd be a funny comparison between him and Ngannou, because Ngannou could actually murder you with one shot.
I would be incredibly nervous that I don't have a head any longer. I'd be like Ted Williams, man. They'd be putting my shit on ice.
Do you like anything else from the Pels, assuming Adams is in?
If Adams is in, I don't like anything from the Pelicans. 9% Zion Williamson is the highest sim score that I have on FanDuel. But I don't think that the Pels look very good here. When everybody is healthy, these guys are all at like their correct price tag, and Denver's not a great matchup.
Yeah, Suave Tav is 100% right. Adams looks like a Dothraki from Game of Thrones.
Absolutely. I don't want to fight Khal Drogo.
No, absolutely does. There's no question about it. Well, what if you got Khaleesi and if you just could stay alive?
I mean, do we want to have this discussion?
I mean, I don't think we need to. I think the answer is very simple.
Yeah, I don't think she's a prize.
Oh, really?
I mean, what an egomaniac. I don't want to be around that. That's like the most high maintenance thing I can do.
Yeah. I mean, I'm talking seasons 1 and 2 Khaleesi, not Dragon Queen Khaleesi.
Yeah. Even then she was still
a
little bit too big for her
you.
britches. Yeah. She's like a YouTube troll.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah. I'm good. All she thought she wasn't even the rightful heir. She just watched her brother get iced because he was a terrible person.
You can have the one that was protecting Jamie instead.
Brienne of Tarth.
Brienne of Tarth is humble.
That's okay. Yeah, sure. Give me Masande or whatever.
Masande. Yeah.
Yeah, the Grey Worms gal, because he's not going to be able to do anything. He doesn't have anything for it. So now he'll kill me.
Yeah. Yeah. Grey Worm does not fuck around. He's got nothing to lose.
He could stay in the corner with the camera.
It's like the Mad Real World episode of Chappelle where he's sitting there in the corner watching Lysol. All right. What about Denver?
I love Jokic today. 11-1 on FanDuel, 11K on DraftKings. Just has a monstrous upside. Like, if I'm paying up, I would much rather pay for Jokic today than for Russ in that really difficult matchup. So I like getting there.
Josh with the dunk on the eunuch. Sorry. Go ahead. We're back on track.
Michael Porter Jr. is still just 7,700 on FanDuel. That price tag is too low for the role that he has for this team, playing 35, 36 minutes a game. I'm a little less interested in Porter on DraftKings at 8,600. And after that, you just kind of got to cross your fingers that you get like Campazzo, PJ Dozier, or Austin Rivers correct. I'm not really fond of any of them. We have Campazzo at 20% ownership on FanDuel. I just don't have a ton of interest in grabbing him at heavy ownership. He looks good, but I think he's like double owned than he should be.
Okay.
That was a terrible sentence. He's twice as owned as he should be.
Yeah, well, it was the pause and the breath at the end of the sentence. I wasn't sure if you were continuing your sentence.
Once I realized how stupid I sounded, I realized I should not continue my sentence at all. Yeah, I was just like, this sucks.
I'm going to mute my damn self. Donovan Mitchell's still out. Mike Conley is out for this one as well. So that's kind of significant. Right hamstring tightness, which is also very likely just Mike Conley getting a little rest from Quinn Snyder. They are still 8-point favorites against the Sacramento Kings, though, Josh. I kind of like the Kings side of this one. If I'm a betting man, I don't mind getting 8 points for the Kings at home against Utah. And usually, though, as we kick it off with the Jazz side here from a DFS perspective, usually, you know how I feel about Jordan Clarkson, and it's exactly what happened last game. He played 26 minutes, right, in a game that was decided by 1 point, even though Mitchell was out, because that's kind of what Clarkson does off the bench, and had 34 fantasy points. Okay, that's okay. It's fine, but I can live without that any day of the week. Can we live without Jordan Clarkson today now that Conley is out as well? And this is a point. It is a very specific question, because right now Jordan Clarkson's ownership on DraftKings is 42.5%.
Yeah, I aggressively don't agree with that.
Neither do I. And I never do. So how can I get to him at almost 50%?
It's 54% on FanDuel, and
Crazy.
He's 6,300 there. Look, he's clearly a good play. Yeah. He's going to be getting, 34, 36 minutes, something in that neighborhood. He doesn't have like that big of a rate bump with those guys off the floor. Like it still just kind of gets spread out. It's nothing too crazy taking off Conley and do I still have it up here? I do. Like his usage rate basically doesn't move, which is kind of crazy. Like, which doesn't surprise me. He just takes every shot that he could take always already. So it's not opening up a ton for me. The guys that I actually like are the other guys. So like Joe Ingles, I think is going to basically be the point guard of this team.
Sees a usage bump today.
Sees an assist bump. I like Bojan Bogdanovic on both sides. I like Rudy Gobert quite a bit on both sides. And again, I will be playing Jordan Clarkson. I don't want it to sound like I think that he is a bad play. But to me, I see no scenario where I want 50% of him on this slate as of
or
right
even
now.
43%.
No, not even close. So with Mike Conley and Donovan Mitchell off the floor this year, 302 minutes, Jordan Clarkson has a 29% usage rate, which is exactly where I have his usage rate otherwise.
That's crazy. Yeah. Joe Ingles right now is getting a fourth of the ownership of Donovan Mitchell, or as you would put it, he is getting quadruple ownership. So I just think that overall, Ingles, yes, he's similarly priced to Clarkson, but the one thing that stands out to me is Clarkson sometimes gets 30 minutes. Someone just said that in chat. They're right. He sometimes gets 30 minutes. Just because these guys are out does not lock him into 38 minutes again today. I think in a close game, Joe Ingles is giving you an easy 35 plus minutes today.
I have Ingles in for 34. I actually just bumped to Clarkson to 35 just to try to push him up a little bit. But I mean, talking about 45, 50% ownership is crazy to me. I love the spot, but he doesn't really see that same sort of boost that is implied by this ownership. This is just, it's a great matchup against Sacramento. I get it, but I don't see any reason that it can't be one of the other 3 or 4 guys from Utah that is the true play here. And those guys are all getting owned the correct way. You play Clarkson in cash immediately and you don't even bat an eye at it. Let's be clear there. I see him as a relatively negative. Well, maybe negative is not even the right word for it, because he's still a great play today. But like to win a large field GPP, you're probably more likely to win if you don't have him.
Yep. Corey Jefferson says, would you make it a priority to get off Clarkson in single entries, Josh?
It depends on what the rest of your lineup looks like.
Right. It does. Yeah. If the rest of your lineup is just straight chalk, if it's Cedi Osman and Jordan Clarkson and, oh my God, wait, Dean Wade's getting that much.
Oh yeah. Yeah. It's legit too.
Truma Okeke. Wow. Yeah. I mean, Hartenstein's out. Nance is out. It makes sense. I get it. It just doesn't make me feel awesome.
And I guess the easier answer for that, would you make it a priority to get off of Clarkson in single entry? No, I would not make it a priority to do that, because to me, he is either the best or second best play for Utah in an incredible matchup. I don't want to diminish how good of a play he is, but if we're just talking about thinking about leverage in large field GPPs, That's a lot for a 10 gamer.
So how about this? Would you make it a priority to get on the Clarkson and single entries?
I mean, I think that it would just pretty naturally happen. It would just sort of depend on the rest of the lineup, and the ownership and the rest of the lineup is what actually makes that decision.
Okay. All of our shows, guys, podcast. You want to listen to a podcast form. You don't want to listen to it on YouTube. You don't want to put your phone in your pocket with it on because you close it and the screen goes off and you can't listen anymore because you don't have YouTube Premium. Go to Apple Podcasts, download it. Go to Spotify, wherever you want. Check it out. And while you're at it, leave us a review and a rating. It helps us a ton. If you want to check out all the free premium content we've got on the site today, too. NBA ownership projections free, MLB player projections, PGA Pro plays, and NHL ownership projections today. All of that premium content is in front of the paywall just for today, so be sure to check that out. Josh, Sacramento, unless you have anything else for Utah that you want to hit on.
I do, and I think it kind of goes back to that single entry question. So let's say I'm going to speak about it from a FanDuel perspective because I have the numbers fresh in my head. But let's say you build like an optimal lineup, and it has Damian Lillard and Jordan Clarkson both in it. These guys are getting a ton of ownership, and we just went over that now. I would be more likely to immediately flip Dame into Ja Morant at that lower ownership number, same exact price, than I would to go off of Clarkson in that spot, because I think that would make a little bit more sense. But that's where we're talking about how you don't have to get away from Clarkson. You can find that pivot spot anywhere that makes your lineup unique. And I think that Dame to Ja Morant pivot would do exactly what you need and create a lineup that most people are not going to have.
Okay. With Sacramento, De'Aaron Fox is out for, at least another week, COVID protocol. Harrison Barnes, who has been playing an absurd amount of minutes, just an insane amount of minutes. He's got to be leading the league in minutes over the last month and a half, 2 months. He has to. He only played 24 minutes last game before departing with a adductor tightness, or not but with adductor tightness. Josh, do you know what that is? Do you know what your adductor is?
So I wouldn't have really known up until a week ago. Well, we are working on my adductors right now with my trainer. So yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Very nice.
But they are sore right now.
What's your adductor?
The muscles on the side of your hip, correct? Am I thinking the wrong muscle? I'm
asking you. I don't know.
I think it's the one that's on the side of your hip.
Okay. Anyway, he has an adductor strain or tightness, according to James Ham of NBC Sports Bay Area. So if they hook
the femur to the hip joint.
Okay. Yeah, that's what I thought. Yeah. If he's not playing today, and I think it's possible that he doesn't, that's 38 to 40 minutes. I'm not exaggerating. Like, that's 38 to 40 minutes in regulation that are removed from this lineup. You already take De'Aaron Fox out, who was playing huge minutes. Then we're in business. Like, we have to at least start talking about who is going to fill that voided gap in minutes, like 80 minutes that are taken out of the lineup between two players.
I don't know what happens if Harrison Barnes gets ruled out of here. Chimezie Metu season, I guess, is going to be live and in living color. Mo Harkless probably plays like 36 minutes rather.
I think Harkless would play a ton. Yeah, a ton.
I don't have a ton of priorities coming out of Sacramento right now. Obviously, very difficult matchup against Utah. But Halliburton unquestionably is the top option across both sides. We don't have anybody else projected for north of 6% ownership, and that would be Mo Harkless on DraftKings at 3,800. So I don't really want to get to all that much from Sacramento. I will play Barnes if he's in at least at 6,900 on FanDuel. If Barnes ends up out, though, I think Metu gets enough minutes to be super relevant. 3,800 on FanDuel, 3,400 on DraftKings. Doesn't appear that Whiteside is going to be a part of this rotation anymore. Rashawn Holmes and Damian Jones look like they are splitting the center minutes, so we'll see what that split actually looks like. I've got it in at 28 and 20 right now. I don't really know who else picks up those minutes in lieu of Harrison Barnes being out, though. Probably nobody that ends up being like really, really good, because I don't think that they can move everybody up far enough. Daquan Jeffries actually could be a guy that can get into enough minutes that matters.
Peter Hanley with the super chat says, thanks, guys. That name looks very familiar, and I believe that is Be Great. That is the $100,000 winner, Peter Hanley. In the chat. Show him some love.
Welcome.
Anything else for Sacramento, Josh?
No, I don't think so. It's just a tough spot against Utah. Like if Gobert is there, then Utah's defense is just good.
All right. You ready to wrap this one up?
Let's do it.
One last thing. No house advantage. You know this already. Some of you dragging your feet. You haven't done it yet. I don't know what you're waiting for. Download the app. Check out their peer-to-peer player prop tournament style game. It is awesome. Go over there. Use the promo code Awesemo. Get your $20. And then before building your lineups, where you're taking your favorite player props, 8 of them in a lineup, guaranteed payouts, go over to Awesemo. Use the free tools. Use the No House Advantage player prop projections. Use the optimal lineups tool. All of that stuff in conjunction with building your lineup. Get your free money. Win money. Build your bankroll on a site, on an app that wants you to win money because they want to stick around. The little well-known secret, Josh. They want you to win money. And go do that at No House Advantage, sponsor of the Strategy Show.
By the way, I want to point it out because chat's pointing it out. Yeah, Daquan Jeffries not even on the Kings anymore. So ignore everything that I just said about Daquan Jeffries.
Okay.
He's on the Rockets now.
That is one astute chat right there.
Yeah. Yeah.
Wrap it up with the Clippers and the Phoenix Suns. Paul George, just an absolutely horrid, horrific, dreadful, embarrassing, disaster.
Yeah, it was bad.
Unmitigated disaster. 25 minutes, 17.75 DraftKings points. Through it, he had been playing so well too. I mean, he was up there with the elites, Josh. They're 4-point dogs, 223 total out there in the desert tonight facing the Suns. Do we go back to Paul George, or do we have plenty of other options where this can be avoided?
This is a fantastic actual basketball game. It's not a very good DFS game. That should be no surprise. Highest I have anybody here is Terrence Mann, 9.7% optimal odds on DraftKings at 4,800. Every single person on this team is in single digits in ownership. I totally agree with it. I have no priorities coming from the Clippers. If you want to roster Paul George, go for it. I wouldn't talk anybody out of it. I just don't think that he looks like a particularly good play today.
All right. That's actually a pretty simple response. Anything else for the Clippers then?
Nope.
What about the Phoenix Suns?
A little bit more interesting, but I'm assuming we need to wait a little bit on the news of Crowder and Saric. Yeah. I have them both in for right now. And then it's just sort of like Paul, Ayton, Booker, Bridges are, 5%ers. We have Booker, Ayton, and Paul all around 10% ownership. That's fine to me. I don't really like it going up against the Clippers. The Clippers are a really good matchup. They're a bad matchup for Phoenix. They're a good defense. And a good DFS defense. So to me, there are no legitimate priorities coming out of Phoenix and the Clippers. If you get to any of those main guys, the Paul Georges and like the stars from Phoenix, I wouldn't take them out of lineups, but this is a bad game in comparison to the Jazz Kings.
All right. Who's your favorite high owned or top price player tonight?
Jokic.
Who's your favorite value option? Is it going to be Dean Wade as it stands right now?
We're talking DraftKings?
Yeah. A lot can change, obviously.
Define value?
Let's say 4,500 or lower.
Brandon Goodwin, if he's
okay.
In. Dean Wade would be second.
I like that. And your top fade of the day. And by fade, we don't mean 0%. Talking about looking at something saying ownership's just too high there. I will be way under that, at least as it currently stands. Is it Clarkson?
I would be more likely to say that I would fade Chetty over Clarkson.
Okay. I agree with that. That 5K and 5,500 on both sites is very difficult to get to. Guys, thanks for hanging out as always. If you missed Josh's process show, go back. It's Monday through Friday, every single day of the work week, 6:30 a.m. Contenders videos as well. And my gosh, do we have a lot coming up. MLB Strategy Show happening right now with Pete McCarthy, Greg Ehrenberg, then the NHL Strategy Show, MLB Deeper Dive, the tip-off, NBA Deeper Dive, NBA Live Before Lock, and then Ben Rasa, Eric Lindquist, PGA Live Before Lock to close out the night. Thanks again for making us the biggest DFS channel on YouTube. Feels good to say that, doesn't it?
It really does. I thought we would be a little bit further away for that one, but we have the biggest DFS channel on YouTube. That is
feels
nuts.
Good, right?
Where else would you want to be?
Feels good. Thanks, Jordan Klein, for producing, and thanks to you guys for hanging out as always. We'll see you back here tonight, I'm sure, but if not, good luck. This is the Strategy Show presented by No House Advantage.